What's up YouTube? Yajji here. I'm back with another Grandmaster guide, and this time it's going to be about Mercy. With the recent patch bringing changes to the two most popular heroes, you guys might be interested in adding another support to your arsenal. I've played Mercy all the way to the GM level, and she can be extremely valuable to a team if you know what you're doing. The main thing to note with Mercy is that she isn't hard to play, but she does require other skills. Skills such as game sense, positioning, and awareness. Mastering these three will make you an impossible Mercy to deal with. So here's what I'm going to be covering in the video today. So let's start out with game sense. Now, some of you might be asking, what is game sense and why is it important? When it comes to Mercy, game sense is knowing and keeping track of how many pushes the enemy team has made. The reason this is important is because you need this information to know how and when to position yourself for the Mercy res. The way you do this is by keeping track of how many failed attempts the enemy has made to determine what % ult charge they're at. Try to notice how many teammates have died during the pushes. The enemy team might end up having it at the second push or the third push. And then another big indicator of when a big push is about to happen, where the enemy team has a lot of their ultimates, is when the enemy takes their time to group up. There will be a time where you don't really notice any deaths happening or the enemy isn't pushing. That will be the time for a big push. It'll be difficult at the start to notice these moments, but as you start paying attention to it, they'll become more obvious. The next thing you'll want to pay attention to is their lineup. If they have a Genji and you have your ultimate, you're going to want to hide all the way at the back. Genji has an easy time getting to Mercy, especially when he's ulting, as opposed to a soldier ulting. Another big ultimate you'll want to keep in mind is Graviton Surge. Mercy gets a ton of value out of Rezzing from a Graviton wipe, since it usually means the enemy will be using another ult to combo with the Graviton, so you'll want to make sure that you have your ultimate ready and are hidden when the Graviton does go off. Another really important aspect to playing Mercy is awareness and positioning. Awareness means knowing where the enemy team is so that you can reposition yourself in a safer location. Positioning complements awareness. Having better positioning makes you harder to kill, and having more awareness makes it easier for you to position yourself in a better location. Just remember, when you're playing Mercy, to always look around and be on the move to try and get your ult charge as fast as possible. So let's move on to Mercy's resurrection ability. It's a big game changer and can potentially win you a lot of games if timed correctly. This may seem like a simple ability at first, but there's a lot to it. For instance, you can use her res in two ways. One of those ways is a tempo res. A tempo res is when you use your ultimate to bring back one or two teammates back into the fight to swing the battle back in your favor. This will mean less 3 to 5 man reses, but these reses can be more impactful than the bigger reses. Here are a couple of things you'll want to keep in mind when going for a tempo res. Do the teammates you're rezzing have their ultimates? Does rezzing these one or two people give you a number advantage? Are the teammates who already died earlier in the fight on their way back? Does the enemy team still have their ultimates? Get in the habit of asking yourself these questions when you're in a team fight and you see one or two people dead. The second type of res is the reset res. This is when you res 3 to 5 people after the enemy team has used their ultimates to wipe you. Doing this puts you in a favorable situation, especially if your team still has ultimates. Now, like I said earlier, if you want to be good at getting reses off, you need to be able to read the enemy team and know how and when to position yourself. This brings me to my next point, her shift ability. You can use your guardian angel to juke enemies when they're trying to kill you. Make sure to communicate to your team to get on high ground in case you need an escape. I can't stress enough how important it is to have someone else on high ground so that you can fly to them. Also make sure that when you're trying to escape with your shift ability that you're looking for another target to fly to after your first target. Usually flying to multiple targets makes it harder for enemies to kill you. Just remember to use your shift ability as much as you can when getting flanked by a Tracer or Genji. The worst thing you can do as a Mercy is just to run away. Try pulling out your pistol sometimes and going toe to toe with them. Remember that this ability only has a 1-second cooldown and you can cancel it in mid-air. This is especially useful if you don't want to be put in front of your allies, which can happen sometimes, and you end up taking damage and sometimes even dying because of it. So make sure that you cancel it if you don't want to be put in line of sight of the enemy. You can cancel flying to an ally by pressing shift again. Alright, so let's go back to talking about her ultimate a little bit more. So as Mercy, you'll want to make sure you have your ultimate up for almost every fight. That means you'll have to get as much healing as you can while the enemy team is poking at your team. You can also get your ultimate charged up by boosting allies as they deal damage. It doesn't give you too much charge, but every little bit helps. But when you know that you really need your ult, ask your tanks, either Ryan or D.Va or some other person who's extremely tanky like Roadhog, to take some damage until you get your ult. And I know what you guys are thinking, won't that give the enemy team ult charge? Yes it will, but most likely they won't be going in until they have their ultimates ready, so you might as well prepare for the fight and get your ult too. Not to mention that your ult counters theirs if done right. Another thing to keep in mind when playing Mercy is to talk to your team. your team will forget multiple times throughout the game that they have a Mercy on their team. So telling them things like die together on point and that you have res is extremely helpful. Make sure that when the team fight is going down that you're constantly telling your team to die on point and that you have res. Well, that's it for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more content like this in the future. And let me know in the comments down below which hero guide you'd like to see next. As always, I'll see you guys next time.